Hey everybody, Mr. Nowhere here, coming at you with another video. So there's been a lot of conspiracy theories regarding Charlie Kirk's death. Palm guns, secret camera guns, snipers on the grassy knoll from an angle coming in at his head, and just all this crazy stuff. So I kind of wanted to go through this and kind of just, give my little analysis and take on everything. So let's get into it. All right, so first we have from the New York Post. Surgeon calls Charlie Kirk Man of Steel. Reveals miracle factor that likely prevented more from being hurt. And this is a little snippet from the article. He said the bullet absolutely should have gone through, which is very, very normal for high-powered, high-velocity rounds. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times, and they always go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc., but it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. So the current explanation is that he was shot with a .30-06 that deflected off of his rib cage into his neck. I don't buy that, because the amount of force, you have a round that's traveling at 28 to 2,900 feet per second. If it was a dead-on shot, even if it was a hollow point, it should have shattered his rib cage, gone all the way through, and blown out the back. Or maybe the bone might have slowed it down enough where it got stuck in his body, but either way, I mean, you're talking about a freak 1 in a million thing that could happen. A lot of people have speculated that maybe he was wearing a vest and that it deflected off of the vest into his neck, which that could be a possibility if he was wearing a vest. He was not wearing a vest. People examined photos of him. You could see his nipples protruding. There's nothing under his shirt other than maybe some audio-visual equipment. So that kind of dispels that right off the bat. So this is where the alleged shooter was. He was on this roof over here, perched and aiming down at Charlie from here. So this is where supposedly he was at when he took the shot. And it gets even crazier. The gun that killed Charlie Kirk is World War I era rifle that may be untraceable. So for those of you that don't know, you can buy old rifles, 1899 and older, that don't qualify as firearms. They're considered antiques. And there are Mausers, there's Spanish rifles, there's old Swedish rifles you can get, old handguns, all kinds of things. And so they're saying that it didn't have a serial number and that it's untraceable, which is also making people go wild with speculation. But I'm going to get to this. I think I have a theory on what might be going on here. So this was the weapon. Supposedly it is a bolt-action rifle that is a sporterized Mauser 1899 chambered in .30-06. And this is the article where Erica Kirk explains that her husband did not wear a bulletproof vest, and that he refused. That when he refused, the friend suggested he speak from behind bulletproof glass. Not yet, Erica replied, Kirk replying before he added that he felt confident in his security team and that there would be additional security at the Utah Valley University event. So here's a little size chart for you. So here we go. We have 5.56. You have 308 right here, which is a very standard round that the military uses, and this is .30-06. Right? You got a lot of powder here, a lot more powerful charge. And of course, he wasn't shot with a 50 BMG. There'd be nothing left of him. We know that. So a lot of people are saying he got shot from the side or got shot from behind by a camera. So just forewarning, this is a little graphic. We're going to be watching the footage. So if you don't want to watch it, then just go ahead and turn off the video. But I'm going to kind of break it down. So this is a slow-mo angle, side angle behind him of him when he got shot. So we're going to watch this. Now, see, people are saying his shirt moves first, but here's the thing. If you notice, the shirt bows out, right? The shirt bows out, which suggests that the impact is coming from the front. The shock wave is moving back. If the shock came from this angle, right, the camera, right, we'd see his hair move, we'd see the shirt ripple out this way, you know, so he obviously wasn't shot from some secret camera, right? And then right here, I want to pause it right here. So right here, it's kind of hard to see because it's a little blurry, but right here we see his neck tissue expand, right? His neck tissue is expanding from the shock of the impact of the bullet, right? That can't happen if he's being shot from the head right here, right? So someone was suggesting there was a sniper that shot him this way and the bullet traveled down and exited his neck. That wouldn't happen. The shockwave would be, you know, his face would ripple this way and be pushed forward if he was shot in that direction. And also we would see his hair kind of poof. We'd see, you know, it move as the bullet makes its entry into the head. So this idiot on YouTube who's saying, oh, he was shot from this kind of like upward angle, the sniper off to the side, it's total bullshit. Now, I don't know what this is, but I'm pretty sure this is the shockwave. So you're going to watch this little white right here, right? And see how it's kind of moving out this way, right? See, it's moving out this way. Now, someone said this was a necklace or it was a lavalier mic, because there is something that flies off right here, right? I don't know what that is. It could be a necklace. It could be blood splatter. It could be a piece of debris, fragment of the bullet. I have no idea. But either way, something does fly off of him, right? And goes off the screen. And see, then he's leaning back. And he slumps over in his chair. So let's watch this again. So we're going to play it all the way through. So you'll be able to see the shockwave ripple through his hair. It's moving backwards, right? Impact. We have the neck expansion, right? His skin expands right here. Right there, you see the bowing of the shock. His shirt ripples out. And then zoom, something flies off to the corner. And he slumps back. So yeah, I don't think he was shot from behind by some secret camera gun. I don't think that was the case at all. And that's because of the way that the skin is stretching out and the shock wave and force is pushing everything back. I get it. When you get shot with a round, you don't just like fly back like, you know, like some kung fu movie when you kick a guy across the room. But, you know, there is a shock wave, and you can see it and how it ripples along his face. His hair moves back, or whatever he has on him, maybe a necklace or maybe a lavalier mic or some audio-visual equipment or something. You can see that clearly. So he obviously wasn't shot from behind or from the side, because we would have expected his head to completely tilt over to the side. And like I said, his skin and the shock wave would have pushed it all to the other side, which didn't happen. So that takes care of that. So yeah, and I break this down right here. So see, you can see it. His hair is moving this way. If he was shot from below, we would expect his hair to move this way and down. So that's why I kind of drew this. So we'd expect it to move down his body. So I don't think he was shot from a gun up above, and I don't think he was shot from a gun behind. I believe he was shot from the front. So, and then I just took a still of this. This is that object. It could, like I said, it could be blood splatter, it could be a fragmentation of something, a piece of equipment. Who knows? You know, I have no idea what that is. But either way, something does go flying off to the side. It's very thin, so I don't think it's a bullet. Like I said, it's probably the necklace or a piece of audio-visual equipment, or, like I said, a little spurt of blood. So I know this is graphic, but this is the entry wound, right? Now, if he was shot with 30-06, you would expect this wound to be much, much larger than it is, right? You would expect it to be, you know, so right here, it's about the size of a golf ball. Right, the entrance wound is about the size of a golf ball. But if it was 30-06 or any other high caliber or high-powered, large caliber round, you would expect a tennis ball sized hole. There would be a big chunk of his neck blown off. You wouldn't expect such a small entrance wound from the shot. So I know it's graphic. I didn't show the blood, but that is the entrance wound, and you can see how small it is. So it isn't consistent to me with a large caliber rifle round. So what could it be? Well, I think it was a 5.56 or 223 rifle with hollow point rounds. Here we see a ballistics test of a ballistics head with a skull and the fake blood and all that. And you can see clearly, and I think he was shooting this at about 50 yards. You can see clearly it didn't completely exit the skull. It stopped right at the back of the head and did not penetrate all the way through, which is why I believe he was not shot with a 30-06 unless it was some type of freak miracle, which, like I said, is probably not what happened. I think he was shot with a smaller caliber weapon, like a 223, possibly with hollow point rounds. So, and I know this is a bad example, but the reason I chose this example is because there's a guy who did a test with 30-06 at like 20 yards or 50 yards. There is nothing fucking left of the head. There's like this, the whole head is gone. There's just a neck. So that's why I chose 300 Win Mag. Although I know it's a much more powerful round, I chose 300 Win Mag because to show you the devastation of what would happen if he got hit with a large caliber rifle round, right? It wouldn't blow off his head because it was a neck shot, but it would have blown a huge chunk of his neck out. There would have been a big blood splatter everywhere. You know, the bullet, even if it was a hollow point, would have fully penetrated and exited and just blown through his neck. So that's why I chose this. I know it's not the perfect example because it's a more high caliber round and it's more powerful, but it's just to give you an idea of the type of damage that you would expect, even from a distance, of large caliber rounds. So we're going to go over some ballistics tests. So this is a 7mm test. So let's say he was using a sporterized Mauser chambered in 7mm, right? And I know this is a different round. I think this is like 7mm Remington or something. But I mean, just look at how fast this thing's going. I mean, it's just ridiculous. 2,562.7 FPS average. It's just nuts. So now here's where he does the penetration test, and this is with hunting rounds, right? So it penetrates up, it fragments. So there's the wound channel. There's the wound channel right there. It fragments, but then it goes. So here, I'm gonna see if okay, his measuring tape is kind of covered up, so you can see there's 5, 6, 7 inches, and then 9 inches is where the rest of the jacket stops in the ballistics gel. Now I know people go like, well, ballistics gel isn't really a really good way to, you know, measure the effective force of rounds and blah, blah, blah. And there's weird physics stuff that can happen. But, you know, it's just to give you kind of an idea, right? It's just a general idea of what you could expect from these types of rounds. Meanwhile, this is a perfect example of what I think he was shot with. Now, this guy is probably at 10 yards. He's shooting varmint ammo, 223. And so we're going to watch this. And he's shooting, like I said, he's probably about maybe 10 yards, if that, maybe like 5. I don't know. But he's pretty close. So you can see, a little bit bigger of an entrance wound, but that's because he's up so close, right? So pieces of the gel go flying. So you can see, not huge devastation, right? Yeah, there's definitely some devastation, but that's because he's at such a close range, right? So you can see there's pieces of it that have kind of blown off. But you see, there's your wound cavity right there, and there's the bullet. It penetrated about 7.2 inches, right? So these rounds are designed specifically to kill coyotes and basically just enter, expand, and stop, and, you know, not over penetrate and exit. And that's what these rounds are designed to do. Which, if I was a shooter and I wanted to minimize collateral damage, I would probably choose something that's light, fast, won't over penetrate, and would expand in my target, possibly not exit, do a lot of damage, and take out my target. So this makes a lot of sense. Now, I know it expanded up to 7.2 inches, but you have to remember, he's at 10 yards or at 5 yards or whatever. He's super close. So at a distance, it would probably stop, get absorbed by the tissue, expand, stretch his tissue, but not exit, and cause just a massive amount of damage, and would also create a smaller wound profile and entrance wound profile. So we don't need to watch the video of him getting shot again, but because we already showed that. I think it was, which one was it that I had on here, or was the entrance wound that I was trying to find it? Where was it at? Maybe I closed it. I thought I had it. I lost it. Oh, there it is. Okay, found it. So yeah, you can see it's a much smaller hole. Like I said, he's probably at, he was supposedly at like 200 something yards. So it makes sense. Smaller entrance wound, gets stuck in the tissues. His face is expanding from the shock of being shot, right? See, that's why his face is all puffy. So the bullet's entered. It's sent the shock wave and force throughout his tissue. His face has expanded from the bullet entering his neck. So there's no secret side sniper shot. He was shot from that position, and it entered into his neck. And like I said, it was probably a varmint round or some type of hollow point 223, and didn't overpenetrate and stopped in his neck. Because that's much more believable than Miracle Bones. Miracle Bones don't sell me. Ballistics don't lie. Tissue doesn't lie. People lie. And there's a lot of bullshit around this because people are like, oh, Israel took him out. It was Mossad, blah, blah, blah. Look, I don't care. You believe whatever you want to believe. I'm just going over the ballistics. The point is, he was shot from the front. He wasn't shot from a palm gun, which, yeah, that's right. We got to go over the palm gun. All right, so this video is what people claim is a guy squeezing a palm gun and shooting him from the front, right? A guy who's on his security team, right? So there's not too much graphicness in this video, so we'll just go ahead and play it, and we'll kind of break it down.
Counting gang violence. Great.
Whoop, that's really loud. Let's bring that down a little bit. Okay.
In America, over the last 10 years. Counting or not counting gang violence. Great.
Now you hear that crack? Listen to that crack. Let's here. I actually do have to turn it up because I want you to hear the crack. I want you to hear the shot, the sound, the crack. That's a rifle round from a distance. Okay, it's not a palm gun. Listen to it.
Counting or not counting gang violence. Great.
Yeah, see that noise profile? That's not some palm gun. Now, I will give you this here, and I'll mute it really quick. I will give you this. He does squeeze his palm right when he gets shot. Right? That is a bit strange, right? He squeezes his palm right as he gets shot. But I don't know what's in his hand. It could be a radio. I don't know. People are saying, "Oh, he had a remote trigger and he detonated a device in Charlie Kirk's shirt and that killed him." And it's just ridiculous because you hear the sound of the shot. So like I said, I don't know what he's holding in his hand. Could be a radio, could be, I don't know. But he does squeeze something. But just listen to the noise profile again.
Counting gang violence. Great.
Yeah, I don't think he was killed with a secret camera gun or a palm gun. It's just silly. Because also another reason, look, when he squeezes his hand, no smoke comes out, right? If he has a little tiny like 32 caliber palm gun or something, we're going to see smoke, or we're going to see some type of gas escape from the front. The shot would be louder because it would be closer. It wouldn't sound like it's coming from a distance. So no, there's no secret palm gun. I mean, you can look at it, you can watch it. There's no smoke. It could just be one of those things where it's a coincidence that he's squeezing something in his hand. It's just, I mean, it kind of looks like, if you actually, here, let's mute it. If what it kind of looks like he's itching his arm. Like, see, he's kind of like scratching his arm. See, like, he's kind of like, if you look at the way he moves his fingers. He's kind of like scratching his like vest or something. It's kind of what it looks like. But it could be read as he's squeezing something in his hands. Right? It kind of just looks like he's maybe scratching his shoulder or something. But I don't know. I'll give you that one. That one is a little bit weird. Like I said, could be scratching his shoulder, could be squeezing a radio in his hand because that he's got a security detail that's with him. And he jumps over the fence to go help him. So, see, there he goes. So, I don't know. Could just be squeezing a radio. But I will give you that it is kind of a little weird. Now, here's another angle.
Gang violence. Great.
And once again, there's no gases, nothing expands.
Great.
Like I said, it looks more just like he's like scratching his shoulder a little bit.
Great. Great. Gang violence. Great.
So yeah, I don't think it's a palm gun, because if it was a palm gun, it would have been louder because the camera's close, and you wouldn't have that supersonic crack and that shot coming from a long distance.
Gang violence. Great.
See, it's just the sound profile doesn't match for it to be some kind of like palm gun. He does have something in his hands. What he has in his hands, like I said, it's probably a radio, or maybe he was just scratching his shoulder. I don't know. You can go wild with that one. You can go wild with that one. But like I said, I don't think he was shot, because the angle just doesn't look right to me. The angle just doesn't look right. If he was shot with some type of palm gun, it just doesn't look right to me. It doesn't look like it would make contact. And even then, like I said, it would be much louder, and you wouldn't be able to hide it. There'd be like gases escaping. There's no gas escaping. See, we have no plume of smoke, no gas, nothing. And you can't make something suppressed that's that tiny. Okay? Like if he had a well rod pistol or something, and then people were saying that too, that there was a guy next to him that had a well rod pistol tucked under his vest. And it's just like, come on, guys. So the simplest explanation is probably the correct one. So here's what I think happened. I think the shooter shot him with a .223 round that was, a fragmentation round or a varmint round, something of that nature. He shot him with that. Then he ditched the Mauser in the woods and was doing that to try to misdirect investigators, try to create some type of reasonable doubt in the case, or cause some type of chaos in the courtroom, right? Because he could say, well, that's an untraceable gun. That's not my gun, or blah, blah, blah. And I know people said they have text messages of him saying, oh, I lost Grandpa's Mauser. But he could have planted the Mauser, fired a round, because there was an expended round from it, right? Fired a round, planted that gun, took the real murder weapon and ditched it somewhere, buried it, got rid of it, so that way he could try to create some type of reasonable doubt in the case. Now, I know his parents are going to testify. I think the ex-boyfriend is going to testify as well against him. So, he's pretty much fucked anyway. Now, if the shooter gets killed in prison, then I might start side-eyeing stuff a little more. But as of right now, I think the simplest explanation is that he shot him with a lower caliber rifle round. It fragmented, didn't overpenetrate, stopped in his neck, created the small wound channel, and then he ditched that weapon and then planted the Mauser to try to, throw off investigators. Because criminals do it. They do it, right? They'll kill their girlfriend and they'll go to the ex-boyfriend's house and plant her purse. Or criminals will shoot somebody with one gun, and then they'll drop another one at the scene of the crime, so that way the ballistics don't match, and it's a way to try to throw off investigators, right? It's not that crazy of a theory. Now, of course, This all hinges on, is it a 30-06 round? Because if it is, if they pull that round out, examine it, and it matches 30-06, that's pretty weird. Because now we're getting into like freak physics things with bullets, deflecting off of bone and just like weird shit. Like, he was kind of leaning back, so maybe, like, I don't know, you're talking about like really bizarre, really rare, like 1 in a million type of things that could happen, right? And like I said, there is weird gun stuff that can happen, right? So like mobsters would shoot people with 22s. A lot of, like, there was one case I remember reading about where the guy shot him in the back of the head with a 22, and then the bullet deflected off of his skull and went under his skin and exited out around his eye, right? So there are weird things that can happen with bullets, right? There's all kinds of weird stuff. That's just one example. Yawing, spalling. There's all kinds of stuff. Trust me. I used to be a huge gun nut. I was a K-fag, okay? I was a K-fag. I was a gun autist. I used to have a big collection, right? I had to get rid of it, but that's a story for another time. But point is, I was drenched in gun culture, watching videos about ballistics and reading PDF files, and so I know a little bit about this stuff. I don't think there was secret guns. I think the simplest explanation is he shot him with a 223 from a distance and ditched the actual weapon and then planted the Mauser as a way to mislead and misdirect investigators. That's my theory. That's what I'm going with. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because like I said, if he got shot with 30-06, now we're talking about rare, like crazy physics scenarios and deflection. Like if he was wearing a vest, there was a Marine sniper. I should have showed the video. He actually did show that if you, and he did it perfectly. He shot a ballistics plate at an angle and the bullet did enter into the dummy's neck. So that can be done. But here's the problem with that theory. Charlie wasn't wearing body armor, right? He wasn't wearing armor. So if he was wearing steel plate, or if he was wearing, some type of level 4, level 5 plate, and it deflected off of his plate and went to his neck, that would make perfect sense, right? That could be very plausible, right? It's deflected off the plate. Now the energy has slowed down significantly. The bullet is deformed, and then boom, it acts more like a pistol round, right? That makes total sense. But the problem is he wasn't wearing a plate. So the most likely explanation is he was shot with a smaller caliber rifle round. It didn't exit his neck, created a large wound channel, and the suspect planted a rifle. So that's what I'm going with. Let me know your conspiracy theories below. Do you think Israel did it? Do you think there was a palm gun? Do you think there was a secret drone with a AR-15 strapped to it? Give me your theories in the comments. Anyway, that's it, guys. Alrighty. Hope you all have a great night, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.